welcome you all. I'm just doing a head count because we really want to beat Andover. They had 160 people at their launch event, and this is all about competition. So we'll be counting you. You might put up 2 hands so we can get, inflate those numbers. But thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Julia Griffin, town manager, and I'm staff to the Sustainable Hanover Committee, along with Pete Kobacki, our public works director. This is an exciting evening. I think it's going to be pretty hard for people to say they didn't know about this event because we sort of plastered the town with information about it. But it reflects our commitment to Solarize Hanover. As you may not be aware that there are 9 other communities that are also launching in the next week or have already launched. Andover, New London, Wilmot, Orford, Pomfret, Woodstock, Randolph, Brookfield, and Braintree. In addition to Hanover, we're all part of Solarize Phase 2. 120 systems were installed in Phase 1. We want 120 systems in Hanover in Phase 2. Not being greedy, but just saying. I want to start by crediting Vital Communities and Sarah Simonds and Allison Rogers-Furbish for having done some amazing legwork to get the Solarize Upper Valley program off the ground. It's based on Solarize Connecticut, which was a very successful program. And I have to say that both Sarah and Allison are so organized that it's made it very easy for us to launch this. As busy folks with day jobs and as busy volunteers with active lives, it's been super to partner with Vital Communities on this. So Sarah and Allison, bravo. So Solarize Hanover is another production of your Sustainable Hanover Committee. Committee members include David McManus, Yolanda Baumgartner, Marianne Cadwallader, Susan Edwards, Chris Kennedy, Larry Litton, Jenna Musco from Dartmouth College, Marjorie Rogalski, Pete Kobacki is the Public Works Director, and myself are staff to the committee. This group has done yeoman's work over the years, working on all sorts of sustainability initiatives. And tonight's launch of Solarize Hanover is a credit to their willingness to dedicate literally dozens of hours to make this program happen. We love working together on these projects. We have a lot of fun. If you're ever interested in joining Sustainable Hanover, just send me an email. We'd love to have you. In July, Hanover was named as Northern New England's first green power community by the EPA. Collectively, the town of Hanover, Dartmouth College, Hypertherm, Kendall in Hanover, Dartmouth Printing, and the co-op food stores based in Hanover are now offsetting over 17% of their combined electricity use by the purchase of renewable energy certificates from Renewable Choice in Boulder, Colorado. All of these organizations are committed to supporting the development of renewable energy producers by directly funding projects. And we're also committed to introducing 2 new programs in the spring, in addition to Sustainable Hanover. One which will enable all of you to purchase renewable energy certificates as part of a community program, if you're so inclined. And a second will be providing you with an opportunity to purchase electricity from a green power broker as an alternative to purchasing your electricity from Liberty or PSNH, or the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, for those handful of folks in Hanover who are customers of those 2 utilities. And at extremely competitive rates, particularly now with the increase that Liberty is talking about. So keep your ears and eyes open for those programs to launch in the spring. And tonight we're here to launch Solarize Hanover. Sarah Simonds is here from Vital Communities to introduce the concept to all of you. Kim Quirk from our selected installer, Energy Emporium, based in Enfield, is going to be here to walk you through the process. And then Dave McManus, Chair of Sustainable Hanover, will lead the Q&A segment at the end of the presentation. We've also scheduled a series of 2 open houses with probably 1 more open house in addition, solar open houses, where you can go see folks who have actual solar installations in their home and talk with them about the process. And we've also scheduled 3 get-togethers, 1 in November, 1 in December, and 1 in January, if you just need to talk a little bit more about this before you decide if you're ready to go solar. So check our website, the Vital Communities website, for information, and you can also find all of that information on the Town of Hanover website. So fasten your seatbelts, get energized, no pun intended, ask questions, and if you've ever thought about solar, now is the time to schedule a site visit. They're free. Between the power of bulk purchasing, the availability of state rebates, which knowing New Hampshire may not last forever, and the federal tax credit, which is currently scheduled to expire next year, there may never be a better time to install solar on your home or your business. That's what Solarize Hanover is all about. So Sarah, take it away.
Well, you didn't leave me much to say. Julie is absolutely right. Part of what's so exciting about Solarize is that there really may never be a better time to do this, and you get to do this not on your own at your kitchen table trying to make this decision. You've got a whole room full of, I'm guessing, certainly over 120 neighbors who are also thinking about this. Lots of opportunities and from this group to engage with us in the future with these open houses and the Q&A sessions that Julia mentioned, and the incredible Sustainable Hanover crew, which is ready to answer questions and help guide you through this. So it really couldn't be easier. I will take a moment to introduce myself in case those of you who don't know me and maybe have never seen me before. I run the energy program at Vital Communities, and I'm assuming many of you know who we are, but in case you don't, we are a nonprofit organization. We have an office over in White River Junction across the river, and we serve a 69-town area in the Upper Valley, and Hanover is right smack dab in the middle. And our programs really run the gamut. We have a food and farm program, Leadership Upper Valley, Valley Quest, Transportation Management Association, and many others. And if you're curious to learn more about what we do in the community, you should come find me afterwards. We've also got a display set up outside in the hallway. But of course I'm here today because Solarize Upper Valley is a program that is part of our energy program, and we did adapt it, as Julia said, from a very successful couple of programs elsewhere in New England. And the concept is really very simple. It's the idea that for many of you, going solar is only difficult because you've just never had the time, or you never knew where to start. So we're giving you that. We have put together an incredible volunteer team in Sustainable Hanover. They've chosen a really great local partner in Energy Emporium, a local installer from right next door in Enfield. And the process could not be more transparent or simple. So hopefully you will find that as well. And I very much encourage you to sign up for a site visit early. In my experience in this program, it definitely benefits you to make sure that you get Kim to give you a call early in the program so that you have plenty of time to make your decision, because we've got this great opportunity, but it ends the end of January. Part of the power of this program is that there's a deadline, because we all know how many of us need deadlines to do anything. So make sure that you leave your slips with us at the end. Kim will explain how to sign up for a site visit. And with that, I will turn it over to Kim.
Can everybody hear me? Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay, I'm going to first talk a little bit about Energy Emporium and then go into sort of the Solar 101, how it works, what it is, and then also a little bit about the finances, and then how this Solarize Hanover program is working. So Energy Emporium, I founded in 2009, and the main goal is to help people reduce their use of fossil fuels. I renovated a 1850s shell of a house to a zero net energy building. That means all of the heating, hot water, and electricity are being provided by the sun. Solar hot water and solar electric mainly. And so the building itself, the first floor is the Energy Emporium. And as I said, it's kind of a resource center. It's a store. There's sustainable products like composting and small solar systems and various toys and ideas to learn about solar. And upstairs is my house, is where I live. Please stop by. We have real store hours and everything, so hope to see you there at some point. We are a member since founding of a bunch of chambers, the Hanover Chamber, the Lebanon Chamber, Vital Communities and their Local First program, and then within Enfield Economic Development Committee and the Energy Committee. Basically, Energy Emporium has roots right here in the Upper Valley. All of the people that we employ and work with live and buy and move amongst the Upper Valley, and I think that was one of the reasons why Hanover thought this would be a good partnership. Our business model is to work with all the very best trades that are here in the Upper Valley. So our expertise is on the design and project management side and the maintenance side of projects, and we hire out, we subcontract out, depending on whether it's solar hot water or solar electric, or some people can subcontract out for roof work, plumbing work, electrical work, whatever we need. That gives us the opportunity to really ensure that your entire house, we've thought about your entire house and its energy systems. So we also, as I said, that way we get to know and work with a lot of people in the Upper Valley, and so that helps us in the maintenance side later on too. Energy Emporium is kind of divided into three parts. The customer liaison crew are the ones who will be coming to your house for a site visit. There are 4 of us who are involved in that, and I don't see the other 3, but if they could raise their hands. Oh, they're right up in the back. There's Brad Beachy and Chuck Fenton and Brian Munzer, and one of the 4 of us would be the ones who are your homeowner, the homeowner liaison. We would do the site visit, and then we would stay with you through the contract signing, installation, all the way to the commissioning when we turn it on and getting your final rebates. So that gives you the opportunity to have a single point of contact, and then there's always me if there's any problems, and I think Sarah and other Sustainable Hanover people would absolutely be helpful if you have any issues or problems. But our customer liaison crew are the people that you would see at your house and would do most of your work with. And then we have install crews, and as I said, the install crews can be made up of electricians, or roofer type people, or solar installers, people who are doing solar panels specifically and mountings for solar systems. And then, as with any business, we have the back office support for doing all the finances and helping with all the paperwork. And there's a lot of paperwork involved in getting a solar system, mainly in getting the rebates, but the permitting and the interconnect, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those things. Okay, here's the Solar 101 part. Basically, we get 2 forms of energy that we use here on the Earth from the sun, and one of them is in the form of heat, which you can feel when you walk out in the sun. It's the passive solar that may be coming in your windows and heating your house because you have a nice south-facing window, or even solar hot water. The solar hot water products are generally using the heat of the sun. Solar electric is what we're really working on in this program. And the solar electricity that comes from the light. So solar panels are made of a silicon that changes light into electricity. And the light is the term photo, and electricity gives us the term voltage, which is where we get photovoltaics, or solar PV, as a lot of people will say it. Now the solar panels themselves provide what's called a direct current. It's kind of like your batteries, your 12-volt battery or your batteries. It's a DC current. It's not what we use in our houses. In our houses, we use AC, alternating current, 120 volts AC. You recognize everything we plug into the wall. So what we need to convert between the two is something that's called an inverter. I'm not going to go into a lot of details. These are things we can talk about at another time. But the thing I do want to mention is that inverters come in different styles and a little bit of different technologies. This one here is a large string inverter. You would have one of these and a lot of solar panels on your roof, for instance. This one, it represents a micro inverter. It puts all of the technology of the big inverter into a small package, and this can be packaged right on the individual modules on the roof. And the third technology is kind of a combination of the two. It puts some of the technology on the roof, and some of the technology is the large inverter in your basement. Again, I won't go into the details of this, but we can answer lots of questions, and what's the right technology for you is part of why we do a site visit. Then there's all the other pieces of equipment that go along with a solar system. Switches, cutoffs, breakers, things like that. The mounting on the roof. This one's a shingle roof, and here's a standing seam roof. And there's different ways to do the mountings. I don't have a picture of a ground mount, but there's lots of items involved in the ground mount as well. Most of our homes are connected to the grid, and so the solar panels themselves are connected through that inverter to our electrical panel in the house, and all of our appliances and various things will be using that electricity. If the sun's out and our appliances are on, the electricity the sun is providing can power up those appliances. If we're not home, all the appliances are off, and the sun is out, which happens probably a lot of times during the day, then this production, the electricity, can go through the meter and out to the utility. Okay, when that happens, the meter can run backwards. You've heard about meters running backwards. If you're not using any electricity in the house and the sun is out producing electricity, then the electricity flows back out to the utility. And our utilities, Liberty, New Hampshire Electric Co-op, and PSNH, are all required to measure and give you credits for those kilowatt hours that flow back into the grid. The good news is they will flow to the nearest neighbor who's requiring electricity. So you're kind of helping your neighbors out here. But more importantly, you're getting credit for those kilowatt hours. And at night or in the winter or other times when your house might be using more electricity than it's making, then you get those credits back from the utility. And it's a one-to-one credit that you get. So if 1 kilowatt hour to the utility means later on you'll get 1 kilowatt hour back. They don't change the rate for which direction it goes, which is really important, because if you were going to sell your power to the utility, they would buy it at a much lower rate than what you have to buy it from them. So it's a one-to-one. It's a really good feature that we have in, I think, most of the states in the U.S. at this point. And it's called net metering. So what happens when, if the power we're producing goes out to the utility, what happens when the utility, there's an outage out there, so a car ran into a pole and the wire went down. At that point, the people who are going to be fixing the wires it's a safety feature that the solar system on your roof will have to turn off in order to ensure that you're not electrocuting the guy on the pole who's trying to fix the power outage. So this is important to think about. If there is an outage and you have solar panels on your roof and it's a sunny day, it can feel a little frustrating that you're not getting any power from your solar panels. So I just want to make sure that you understand that point. There are ways to get around that. There are battery backup systems and things, but it's a safety feature, and it's required that your solar panels go down if the utility is down. Okay, so what are the finances? How do the costs work out? First, what we do when we sit down and do a site visit, we ask to look at your electric bill, and we want you to consider doing this when you go home tonight. Look at your electric bill, and you want to look at both the dollars and the kilowatt hours. So it's a little hard to read, but the point is look for the kilowatt hour number, total kilowatt hours, and usually it will say something like the meter was read last month and this month, and the difference is how many kilowatt hours that the house used. Okay, so you look at the kilowatt hours. And then separately, each of those kilowatt hours is measured by all kinds of different things, from distribution charges, stranded costs, system benefit charges, etc. Then you'll end up with two numbers. One which is related to the delivery service, and one that's related to the supply service. Both of these are multiplied by that 1,287 kilowatt hours, and that's how you get to your total cost that you're going to pay on your utility bill. Liberty just asked for and was granted an increase in the price of their supply services. So this number down here, and you can't necessarily read it, but it reads something like 8 cents times the kilowatt hours. So that's how they get this number. Well, that 8 cents was just increased to 15. And New Hampshire Electric Co-op also just got an increase, and PSNH hasn't announced one yet. Okay, so now the average electrical usage in this area, New Hampshire and Vermont, is 600 kilowatt hours per month. You can find different numbers, but between 600 and 700 kilowatt hours per month. So now, going backwards, this guy uses about double the average. So that's something to think about is, if you are above this average, you might want to first ask yourself, what can I do about that? We can give you some ideas too. The average cost in New Hampshire before this rate increase was about 15 cents a kilowatt hour. So 600 kilowatt hours a month is about a $90 bill. So if your electric bill is about $90, then you're in the sort of average amount of usage in this area. But as I said, that 15 cents a kilowatt hour just went up. And for this program, in order to talk about the finances, we sat down with the Hanover Sustainability Committee and decided the number that we would use. Liberty is going up so that the total is going to be close to 23 cents a kilowatt hour. New Hampshire Electric Co-op, I think, is going to end up a little bit around 20. And PSNH is still down at the 17 or 16 cents, something like that. So for this program, whoops, we're going to use a number of 19.5 cents per kilowatt hour, because then we don't have to change it for each person. So these are averages. And so from 15 cents a kilowatt hour up to 19.5 cents means this $90 bill will go up to 117. If you actually are a Liberty customer, this number will be higher. Okay, so how do we offset that? 20 solar modules on a home, on a roof, looks like this. And if this house has got a good south-facing roof and a lot of sun and no shade, then that produces about 600 kilowatt hours a month. So again, if you're the average resident and paying about $90 today and maybe 120 next month, then this is the size of the system that might help to offset your electric bill. That system costs about $20,000. And that's before the rebates and the incentives that Julia mentioned. The New Hampshire rebate and the federal tax credit together will bring that number down to about $11,400. So now the next question a lot of people ask is, so when will I get, what's the payback on that? And so this graph is kind of showing you, again, with good solar conditions, sun and south facing, that cash flow payback is 7 to 8 years. And this picture shows when you're negative and then when you start winning. And you'll see this little change right here at year 12. Those inverters have a 12-year warranty, so there's an assumption that you're going to have to put some maintenance into the system around there. That also translates at year 25 that you've got almost a 15% compound return, 15% internal rate of return. That's the internal rate of return. And when we give you a proposal, we provide all kinds of information about these numbers financially, so you'll have a chance to really look into that for your conditions. I did do what happens if you do have a lot of shading. Okay, in the case where you have 20% shading, which is quite a bit actually, but if you have 20% shading, the cash flow payback goes up to about 12 years, which is still an internal rate of return of almost 10%. Okay, now how does this program work? The Solarize Hanover program, what I want to do is first point you to one of the sheets that you got coming in. This sheet, the back of this sheet has these numbers, so you don't have to be able to read them from the screen, in case you can't. But the basic idea is that the more people that sign up, the less expensive it will be for everyone. So tier 1 is less than 15 people. If 14 people or so, homeowners, sign up for solar, then the cost will be $3.80 a watt. And so again, if we're talking about a standard system for most people is 5,000 to 6,000 watts. At 5,000 watts, $3.80 a watt means their total price is $19,000. On that other slide, when I said the price is $20,000, that was about a 6,000 watt system. In this case, a 5,000 watt system for tier 1, when we have 14, less than 15 people signed up, would be $3.80 a watt. That's $19,000. The federal tax credit for that would be around $5,700. The state rebate is $3,750. So the base cost after rebates and incentives is $9,550. Okay, if we get to tier 2, when we get to the approximately the 15th hole, then the price goes down to $3.75 a watt, which is $18,750. And again, if we just go to the bottom line, the base cost after rebates and incentives is $9,375. Okay, so then following that logic, Okay, the numbers on the handout are correct. Oh, what happened?
You asked me to change that. It was my mistake.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Please refer to the numbers on the back of this handout. Okay. Okay, let's just see what's different. Okay, yeah, the main one that's different is the 30% tax credit. And it's because we were, this is, you have to talk to your tax accountant to decide exactly what this number is. But $19,000 minus the New Hampshire rebate and then take the 30% tax credit gives you the little bit higher numbers on this page. This is the safe page, but talk to your tax accountant because I don't know the right answer. Okay, so after you get to 15 homes, the number goes down to a base cost of $10,500. When we get to the 30th home, then we've reached tier 3, and where the base cost is down to $10,325, etc. You get the idea. 45 homes, and to get all the way to tier 5, we need to hit 80. Okay. Okay, and then how it works. So the timeline. What happens first is you request a site visit. That's what you can do after you've got enough information from this program or one of the other outreach programs. And if you'll find that you were handed one of these forms, you can also sign up online at either the Solarize, Vital Community Solarize the Upper Valley website. And the website is on here. It's not on here. It's on the other little handouts, the website for Vital Communities. So you can sign up with this little piece of paper here today, or you can sign up on the website at Vital Communities or at Energy Emporium, energyemp.com. And if you do, and right outside here, both you can sign up, we have like 4 or 5 computers, and so you can sign up with the computers, or you can sign up with this sheet paper. And there'll be a link on the town website as well. If you use one of these little pieces of paper, I have to be able to read it. And if I can't read your email, I ask you to print, really carefully print, because getting one letter wrong in an email, you won't hear from me, and that will be sad. So, so if you could try to print carefully, or my preference would be go to the website and sign up online, because then we probably won't get it wrong. Okay, and the team that I introduced, we can do 40 site visits a week, and so if we get 100 requests for site visits, it will take a few weeks to do that, but we'll call everybody within 2 business days of your signing up, and schedule something with you that hopefully will meet your availability as well. Then the next thing is, when we finish that site visit, within about 2 business days, we'll be able to provide you a proposal, and the proposal will have the information about how many modules and where they should go, and all the finances that we just talked about, the cost, benefits, and return on investments, and all of that. Then, if you like what you see, you can sign a contract. When you sign the contract, you provide a down payment of $2,100. $2,000 is going towards the system. The $100 is going towards permitting. There's a permit charge that's the same for everyone, and it's $100. So we will immediately start that permitting process. If you are financing your solar system with a loan or something, then you need to start your loan and your financing process at the same time. And we will also start the rebate application. Now the permitting, everybody's contract is contingent on the permitting coming through. So if the permit doesn't come through, then we'll give you your money back. If your financing doesn't come through, or if you're dependent on the rebate, then you need to tell us that, and we will be able to provide your money back if that doesn't work out. Otherwise, when all the contingencies are removed, then you enter into the install queue. We're just about getting into the winter weather now. So there may be some installs that will get done before the snow flies, but most likely with the permitting and some of the rebates and some of the applications that we might have to wait for, most likely everyone, a lot of people, will need to be installed in the spring. So we will give people install queue numbers based on when they've signed their contract, when their contingencies have been removed. That way, you will know, and we'll tell you where we are on that install queue. And we do have to all wait for spring, and spring is defined not by a day, but by when we can get on the roof or get into the ground, if we're doing the ground now. So the basic idea is there can't be any frost or water on the roof, certainly no ice. And and it has to be warm enough that we're not going to break your shingles if we're trying to do flashing for the solar panel. So there's certain things we're waiting for above 35 degrees all day. About 1 month before your install, we'll get back in touch with you for the 70% down payment so that we're buying all your equipment. We do the final scheduling and the final parts order. The installation should take 1 week. It could take a couple of days, but depending on the weather and things, it might be a whole week. Usually it's 2 to 3 days. And we can do 4 installs a week. And that's why it's important to know where you are on the install queue. So we give you an install number, and when spring happens, we start installing, and then we'll be able to tell you where you are and when your installation can take place. After we've installed, then we have the Hanover inspection, and we'll help arrange that. We also, as I said, we did the permitting work. We provide, on the rebate paperwork, we provide all the information you need, but the homeowner has to go and sign it in front of a notary. That's something that happens with the New Hampshire permit. So we'll give you all of the information, and we'll say sign here, but you have to go to a notary, get it signed, get it in the mail. And for the permitting, we'll bring the paperwork to Hanover, and we'll bring the $100 to Hanover. Okay, after the inspection, we get to turn it on. And we get to show you how to turn it on and turn it off. And anything else that you need to know about it and how to read the data. And the final payment will be due at that time. Now at that time, you don't have your final rebate. The next step is that we'll follow up with you. The utility requires the interconnect, will interconnect to the utility. They have to come in and change your meter out. So basically, when we have commissioned it, turned it on, proved that it worked, then we do the final paperwork to have Liberty or New Hampshire Electric Co. come out and swap out the meter. We do the final paperwork for rebate, and that's, again, you have to go, I don't think you have to get it notarized, the second one, just the first one. And then you put that in the mail, and then it will be a few weeks later and you'll get your rebate. It takes as many as 10 days for the interconnect to happen, and then it's on permanently, and you're making your energy. Okay, why now? There's lots of good reasons of why you might be considering to do this now. Certainly the one that just hit us recently is the utility costs going up. Certainly and then the New Hampshire rebates and the federal tax credits will be ending. We don't know when the New Hampshire rebate ends. It's a pool of money, and oftentimes when it has ended in the past, it came back at a lot lower rate, so it's better to get in as soon as you can. The federal tax credit definitely ends. Well, I shouldn't say definitely ends. It ends. It has an expiration date, and hopefully it will be increased. The collective buying power of this program is a good reason to buy now. It's a deal that we aren't giving to people outside of Hanover. It's a deal that is based on the fact that we can get collective buying power. So Solarize is not expecting to come back to Hanover too soon. And supporting the local economy is always a good idea. You might also do it because it's something you can do for the environment and your own self-sufficiency. Okay, questions? Oh no, first David, you want to
How are we doing? Thank you, Kim. So what hit me just since we've been in here, I don't know if you can hear me, but is that Sustainable Hanover Committee thrives on doing things that are local. We like working with Vital Communities, which is a local organization. We like working with Kim and her group. If they're local, we had an RFP process that we went through to select Kim, and there was a national installer at the table and very competitively priced. And we just felt that working with Kim really made a difference with her being here, having been here, Dartmouth grad. It was really important for us in our decision making. Thank you for the presentation, for being our fearless installer, bringing us all up to speed on how solar and the program will work from the initial site visit to commissioning of the system. We all feel very fortunate that you're up to the task, and we greatly, look forward to working with you and your staff and crews on the rollout of the program. Know that you can call on us anytime for support. Also, a big thank you out to Vital Communities for accepting us into the Solarize program. We wish to especially thank you, Sarah, who we've been really impressed with your professionalism, know-how, and follow-through, and getting us on board and focused on implementing the program. We're also excited to be working alongside you in the coming months and making Solarize Hanover a great success. And Julia, what can I say, except that we all continue to be amazed by your enthusiasm and get-it-ism around sustainability issues and projects that we've been addressing at committee level over the past several years. We're also grateful to have you at the table, not only to hear, put up with our sometimes crazy what-if questions and ideas, but also be there to provide vision, leadership, and guidance. We definitely wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for you and your staff, including Peter. Also want to thank my fellow committee members. If you're here, please make yourself known. We're a crew of what I call practical idealists. We get together every month to imagine how things can be done cleaner and greener in town while keeping our feet on the ground, moving one foot in front of the next on various local initiatives, including recycling, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and heat, even contributing towards the town's next version of the master plan. We've been especially busy this year, as Julie mentioned earlier, putting together the first green power community in the state and just the 54th in the country, with the help of the college, the co-op stores, Dartmouth Printing, Hypertherm, and Kendall, as well as some of your neighbors who have already installed solar on their homes. If anyone's here, please raise your hand. Excellent. We see the growth of Hanover's green power community as one of the more effective ways to address climate change at the local level. And programs like Solarize offer up an excellent and practical way to connect homes, small business owners, so that you can come together or come into the fold as we expand our community. So most of all, thanks to all of you for coming on this rainy night and being willing to be part of Hanover's green power community through our Solarize program. We realize that it's a stretch for a lot of people to consider, but if you have the means to solarize, whether as a cash or finance system, we strongly urge you to start the process by signing up for a site visit tonight and see what Kim can do for you, and Kim and her team can do for you. Also know that if for some reason you can't solarize, you'll be hearing, as Julie mentioned earlier, about other ways in which you can participate in our green power community down the road. So look for more announcements and coming by email and signs around town that will include our open houses and info sessions. The first one being November 1st at Lynn and Donald Miller's house on Rip Road, and the second being on the 8th of November on Mint Drive at Patricia Higgins and Scott Drysdale's house. And we will have information sessions at the Black Center on the 13th of November, the 10th of December, and January 10th. And this, again, please don't feel like you have to write all these down, but we'll be getting information out to you. The important thing is sign up starts tonight, and committing ends January 31st. So we do have the deadline, and we encourage you to start right away signing up. So that's it for me. I'll be just helping, I know we want to get to Q&A, so just helping Kim and all of us address your questions in an orderly way, and just please fire away if you'd like to start with a question. So I'll start over on this side of the room. Yes, sir.
What happens to your panels when you have to replace your roof?
I'll let Kim answer that.
You can have the solar panels removed to replace your roof and then put back up. When we come to do a site visit, one of our questions is, what is the age of your roof, or more importantly, when do you expect to need to re-roof? And if that number is less than 10 years, we would recommend that you consider re-roofing as part of this project or before you consider putting solar on. The solar panels themselves have a manufacturer's warranty of 25 years. Like a roof material, they're not expected to have to come down. They work for, there's no reason why they won't continue working for 50 years, but they actually have warranty to provide 80% of the power from, that they say on the back, the rated power, for 25 years. So you don't want to put them on a roof that you're going to replace in 10 years.
Great, and just make sure everybody can hear your question when you do.
Why don't you
Yes.
repeat the question?
Okay, great.
Can you tell me if any realtors provided any information on the property value increase or zero increase as a result of putting in something like this?
Yeah, we talked about this at a meeting this week. I'll let Julie address that. So property value as a result of Solarize.
Currently, our assessor, and this is true for most of the assessors in New Hampshire, does not factor into the value, the assessed value of your home, the value of energy efficiency improvements. They're not, so your property assessment isn't higher if you have solar panels or some other significant energy efficiency investment. What the assessor's telling us is they're not really yet commanding higher prices than homes without energy efficiency improvements made to them. But 10 years from now, maybe a very different story. 5 years from now, maybe a different story. Today, it doesn't add to the assessed value of your home.
In California, they've had a lot more houses that install solar on their roof and a lot more resales of houses with solar. So we've got some numbers from them. They don't apply here yet, but I think that the idea is that we expect it to be similar. What they find is that the amount of savings you have in 1 year multiplied by 20 is what the value for resale is proving out to be in California. So again, that's something to look forward to. If it's $1,000 that you saved, then that's a $20,000 value. But again, that's not real estate here yet.
Okay, this side of the room. Yes, sir.
I'm wondering how a ground mount affects the cost compared to roof mount.
Ground mount versus roof mount installation.
So for anything that's a little different, we have what's called adders. And you can go on the website and see if you wanted a different inverter, or if you have a roof that's really steep or really high. Some of these things will add to the cost, the base cost. And so there's some ground mount numbers in there too. And so instead of giving you a big number, look for the adders and then we can talk about it specifically.
This blue shirt.
Because of my economic questions got answered, so that is just a question. Because of our high latitude, is the solar power efficiency greater when the sun's at a higher angle in the summer than in the winter?
Excellent question.
Big difference here.
Did everyone hear that?
No.
Is this at a higher altitude? Is
No, not
latitude, sorry. Is the solar power radiance, solar radiance, greater at that latitude?
not the power, the efficiency.
Yeah, the efficiency. So basically in New England, up here, our latitude is 43 degrees. And so what you would say is a 45-degree angle, like a 12-pitch roof, is kind of the best all-around angle, except that we have a lot more cloudy weather and stormy weather in the same time that we have less hours, which is to say our winter. So we actually favor the summertime, and our best production year-round for most people is more like 35 degrees rather than 45. The difference between 45, 35, and 25 degrees, so your standard roof pitches of 4 all the way up to 12, the difference between that in the output, first of all, we can give you those numbers, but it's not a lot compared to, say, the difference between having 20% shade. Okay, that's a lot. So we can, again, for the specific roof, we can talk about it, but in this area, anything between 30 and 45 or more is pretty much the same output, is close to the same output.
Regardless of the sun's angle to the earth.
Regardless of the sun's angle here.
We'll
So,
talk about
yeah.
sun angle.
So yeah, when we talk about the sun angle, so in the winter, the sun's angle to the earth is lower. And so you would want to tip your panels up if you could.
So you can do that. Okay.
Well, okay, so on a roof, we often, and the base price in this product is a flush mount roof. And so what I'm suggesting is most people's roofs in New England are actually really fine, good enough, and probably 35 degrees would be like the best.
But then there are pole mounts that track the sun
Yes.
as well. So, Blue Jacket,
You when it snows.
snow, what does snow do?
I go skiing when it snows. So do you have to move the snow off your solar panels? So that goes also a little bit to the same question. Is we expect, and the weather in this area is such that there's snow and clouds and stuff more in the winter and in the late fall. So November through early January, and then starting in February, it starts getting bright again. We get more sun. For most people, we do not recommend that they bother to try to rake the snow off their solar panels on their roof. If they're doing a ground mount and it's reachable, a lot of people like to do that. You will get more production if you get rid of the snow. Snow on solar panels means no production. Most of the time at 35 or 30 degrees, the solar panels are dark colored. As soon as the sun does get back there, they warm up a bit and the snow falls right off. It's a shiny glass surface. So it's usually as good as a standing seam type of falling off, and usually better than asphalt shingles.
Okay, right in front.
System sizing for variation over the seasons. If net metering only allows you to kind of go to zero on it, do you figure out your year's consumption and then divide it? How do you figure out how big is this going to be?
Good question. So sizing the system, how are we figuring that out?
Okay, so as you were saying, in the winter you might be using more electricity, and in the summer we have more sun. It's not at the same time. So net metering works for a year round. So when we come to your house and we look at your electric bill, it is always good to see what the variations are. Some people use more electricity in the summer and some in the winter and some only in the spring and fall. But we're really looking at the average for the year. And then we create a system that will produce something like that average or some percentage of it for the year. And of course the solar panels also produce a lot in the summer and not in the winter, which again, that net metering, the utility is absorbing those credits and giving them back to us in the winter.
Does it answer your question? I have a comment about that. So I was one of those people that put all my electric billing online with Liberty. And when they made the switch from National Grid over to Liberty, hosting their own website, all of the data was obliterated. So to compile energy usage for now I look at 2 years, but if you have just 1 year, you can call Liberty and ask them for the data and they will send it to you in the mail. They won't have it electronically, but if you do want to start tracking electronically again, you have to sign up on their website again. So, yes ma'am. Yep. Oh, black sweater. Yeah.
I have more sun on my garage, it's detached to my house. It's going to be, panel installation in a separate building. What's the issue of getting electricity in your house?
Okay, so application of either on the garage or the house, that's the question.
Even if it's a detached garage, and you were asking specifically about a detached garage, if you already have an electric panel in the garage, there's a good chance that we can connect to that panel and you don't have to go all the way to the house. If the garage is sort of far away and has no electricity to it already, then we would have to trench to the house. But oftentimes we can use the panel in the garage.
Okay, ma'am, in black.
I understand from someone told me that standing seam roof is preferable for mounting them or for seam versus asphalt shingles. Is that true?
Standing seam versus asphalt single.
So it's a little bit more expensive to do mountings on standing seam because we use these special little clamps. We don't penetrate the roof. Better or worse is maybe an individual's opinion. I'm not sure that I would, if it was a sloppy job and there wasn't any flashing on an asphalt shingle roof and it could leak, well, then it would have been better to have done it on a metal. But I don't think, no, I don't think it's a little more expensive, not a lot. It's an adder. So again, there's an adder page. There's a link you can see what the adders are. It's not too much more expensive.
Ma'am, yes.
My question is about maintenance. I understand the contractors who do this kind of work, you know, in hotels, windows, lobbies, elevators, will not touch solar panels. I'm not sure why. Is it because they break, they get dirty, they're hard to clean? What's the story with maintenance?
Okay, question on maintenance of the panels.
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we mainly don't recommend that people clear off the snow, and it's for the same reason, not the same reason, but we have enough rain and enough weather events here that the solar panels in New England pretty much keep themselves clean. In Arizona, they have to clean them off because of the dust, and the dust creates real difficulty for the sun to get through. But here we have enough rain in between a few dry days that we don't actually recommend cleaning them off. And I'm thinking that, I'm thinking that's a specific, maybe more of a commercial situation, and maybe the panels are flat on a roof. They would collect, they would want to be clean. They're glass. They wouldn't be very different than cleaning glass, if you want to clean them.
Breakage?
No, okay, actually.
On the breakage issue, the panels are almost always rated to 1.5 inch hailstone. That's the way they rate them because the manufacturer will, replace it if it's a problem due to manufacturing. But if you hit a golf ball at it or a baseball, or the hailstones are bigger than 1.25 inches, then they aren't responsible for it.
Okay, anybody in the back? Okay, brown shirt. Yes, sir.
You have some numbers for a typical 5 kilowatt system. I'm not sure if that refers to like peak power or what, but in this area, what does that translate into, like kilowatt hours per year?
Okay, how does a 5 kW system translate into kWh?
Over a year.
Yes, okay, so when we were looking at the right back here, 600 kilowatt hours per month, that system is about probably a little smaller than a 6,000 watt DC system. So a 5,000 watt DC system is going to be closer to 500 kilowatt hours a month. Probably a little better than that, but depending on your shading and stuff. So a 5,000 watt, this typical system that we're talking about on here is probably going to offset 500 kilowatt hours a month, or maybe a little more.
Yes, sir.
We live right at the edge of Hanover. Is it included?
So you're not in Hanover, you're outside Hanover?
Yeah, just across the board.
That's up to Kim, but you can ask.
Up to Kim.
Kim's the installer, so get with Kim and
So, yeah, question was about border. If you were not a town resident, could you still be part of the program? Yes, sir. T-shirt.
With the net meters, will the credits, the net metering, will the credits carry over year, or each year do they go to zero?
Net metering credits, whether they're or, yeah.
I know that Liberty, when I've talked to them specifically about credits rolling over more than a year, they have said yes, but I think they have the opportunity to change their mind on that. That's not regulated. So, and I didn't ask New Hampshire Electric Co-op because it just hadn't come up. If you want to create enough solar on your roof to more than offset your usage, and you may have extra, then I think it's your own best interest to think that you would use that sometime in the future, an electric plug-in vehicle or changing over some of your heating to electric or something that makes sense for you. I wouldn't recommend it until you know for sure, or it gets regulated that they have to keep carrying it over. Right now they don't. They don't have to. I think they do a little.
Yes, sir. On the end.
Well, on that point, your economic model that gave the 10% IRR, so forth, what did that assume about how much power you send back to the grid?
how is the return affected by what's sent back to the grid?
So the 10%, or the internal rate of return is based on a lot of assumptions, like the degradation of the panels over each year, which is less than 1%, and the increase, projected increase of the electric rates, which is 4%, is the number that we're using here. And so it's not affected negative. If you use all the electricity over the course of a year, if you use all the electricity over the course of a year that your system produced, then these numbers are true. If you produced more electricity than you use and you gave it back to the grid, to the utility, and you're not going to be able to absorb those credits back again, I didn't do a model for that. So that wouldn't apply. I don't know what the number would be. We really recommend that people do no more than the amount they're using for the year, because we don't know where they go. I think you're saying that, you know, Liberty should say thank you very much, and they're just going to give it to somebody else, and you're not going to get anything for it.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this program only for residential customers, or is it also for community organizations such as churches?
Good question. So is it only for residential? We did include small business in the information. So are they?
Certainly, we can talk about it. The rebates and incentives are different and not as good, I'm afraid.
Has to be for profit to get the tax credit.
Yeah, for tax credits, you have to have profit.
Okay, over here. Okay, increase of property value.
Yeah, I actually answered that question. The assessor is not currently, nor is he anticipating increasing the assessed value of your house when you add energy efficiency equipment. Correct. Because the town assessor assumes your assessed value, and it's on that basis that you're taxed by the town for property tax payment.
Okay, woman on the end here.
We very much like to do this at the kind of property where we actually had an examination done, we're just in a completely wrong orientation. We have to take out a big hillside and a lot of trees. So the question is, what can somebody like us do to be part of the solution? I heard on the radio that New Hampshire had just passed a law about, I think it's called solar farms, or sort of where people invest together in, you know, a set of solar arrays that be placed in your general area, and so it's not exactly generating on your land, but you're like investing in that. And I'm just wondering, is that possible yet? Can somebody like us do that? We're sort of dying to do this. We have friends in Minnesota where it's already happening.
And it's happening in Vermont. It's called group net metering.
Yes.
And they've established law, and they've established law in Concord as well, but they haven't implemented it yet. So there are some projects now that they're accepting applications for, but it hasn't been officially launched, the group net metering in New Hampshire.
So if they're accepting
But yes, you will be able to do it. So grab some neighbors and figure out where you can put a installation so that you can all feed off of it. And it doesn't have to be in your yard, it can be across town.
Right.
This has to be in the same utility.
So, as David said, this is happening in Vermont already. New Hampshire's just a little bit further behind, but I expect in the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing exactly what you described. So if you give your information to the volunteers, part of what these guys are doing, even after Solarize, is keeping you in the loop as these opportunities come up. So if you are interested in community solar, like what you just described, make sure that these guys have your contacts so that when we know those opportunities are there, we can reach out to you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I came in today, but we don't have a roof that faces south, but we've got a nice sloping hill adjacent that faces almost due south. My wife thinks there's some problem with putting it on the ground.
So ground mounts, the question is about ground mounts. If you don't have a good south-facing roof, Yes, we will help you determine if we can do a nice ground mount. And the two basic kinds are sort of a low profile along the ground, or a pole with solar panels on an array that sticks up kind of high but gives you the opportunity to perhaps tilt it seasonally or something, or track the sun every day. So there are a couple different options for ground mounts as well.
Okay, woman over here is purple.
I'm wondering if New Hampshire requires a licensed installer.
Licensed installer.
New Hampshire requires that all the electrical work is done by a licensed electrician, yes. None of the states yet require the NAPCEP PV solar installation certification. I do have it, but some states are starting to require that as well.
Yes, sir. Oh, who hasn't asked before? In the back, black jacket.
I'm wondering if you generate enough power to cover your usage for that month, does that mean that your bill from Liberty, let's say for example, is zero for that month, or is there still some base rate that they're going to charge you each month?
Okay. You get that?
Oh, I thought I had a bill. Okay. So the answer to that is that, yeah, I know I have a bill here somewhere. I just don't know it. There we go. So you might not be able to see it, but on here, right on this line that says customer charge, $7.16. I think mine is $11. I don't know how they come up with customer charge, but that is not multiplied by the kilowatt hours. So if you have a number, and everybody will have a number, that's sort of, because you have a meter, because you have interconnect, you pay this every month whether or not you use any electricity.
Okay, in the middle, ma'am. Yes.
If you sign up with you by the end of January, is it possible to delay the installation when you're having a renovation, for instance, like in the midsummer?
Okay, time of installation, what month?
Yes, so the only thing the things that are time constrained when you start is the New Hampshire rebate. When we get the New Hampshire rebate, you have 12 months to install. The permit, what's permitting in Hanover? How many months? You have a year to install after you get the permit? So both of them are a year. And we're giving you an install queue number so that we can get you as quickly as we want. But if you want to be late in July, that's great.
Yellow, sure, please.
Ken, you said that you heat your property with solar too. You didn't want to go into converters, but what do you do when you lose power?
I got some.
The question was, my house itself is heated completely with solar, and what happens, but it is still grid tied. So when we lose power, when Liberty goes down, my house loses its electricity as well. But I do have a what's called a grid-tied battery backup system, so that I can use some of my panels to provide recharge batteries, which then can power some of the critical loads in my house. It's very doable. It's a different price range, but it's definitely something a lot of people are doing these days.
That answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Sir in the red?
We got a backup generator. Where does this fit in that system?
Backup generator in the PV system.
Yes, we can work with homes that have generators, whether they're whole house generators or just critical load generators. And I can tell you the technical details, but right now I'll just say, no problem.
Okay, man on the red end there, in the blue.
So we're in Vermont, Green Mountain Power, and we have a system now about this size. GMP does an extra 6 cents a kilowatt hour for the solar you produce, even after net metering. Are any of the utilities do that, or what's the plan for that going forward?
Okay, yeah, that's a Vermont adder.
Yeah, you're lucky, thank you. Get out of here. Next question.
We don't do it yet in this state. It's a Vermont adder. It's not only Green Mountain Power, it's the whole state. Yes, sir, on the end.
In regard to the licensed electrical contractor, can a homeowner assist with the
homeowner being involved in the installation?
Energy Emporium often works that way and is very interested in helping a homeowner who is very excited about this and can do some of the work themselves. Most often that works best on sort of the excavating stuff, if you're doing a ground mount and you're doing, but if you're actually a master electrician in New Hampshire, then absolutely I can work with you. For this program, we can't take too many things outside of the norm or else it will just take too long. So I'm not going to say that within the Solarize program that we could do it, but outside of it, which really means, outside of it means we might have to change, when we get the install, and things might go a little slower or use different resources in order not to slow down this program. So I can't answer that directly, but yes, Energy Emporium loves to work with homeowners who like to do stuff themselves.
Okay, over here, anyone? Green shirt.
2 points. One was the response to the economics of the system. I lived in a net positive house for about 5 years now. And one of the reasons, or one of the things people said to me, why did you build your array so large? It's nearly a 10 kW system. And I said, because I fully plan on moving into an electric vehicle that's going to use that surplus. So when you're doing your math as to the economics of justifying the system, you may want to also think about the inflationary rate of the fossil fuels that you're going to displace someday, possibly by using an electric vehicle. My system, I still have a surplus, and have enough surplus to add a second electric vehicle, and still not have an electric vehicle. So that is something to think about. You may, instead of going smaller, you may actually want to think bigger. More savings there.
Right, and you can also expand your system, so you don't have to have one size for the rest of your time in your house. You can keep adding on.
The other point I wanted to make is I talked to Marjorie this afternoon, and she suggested I might want to mention this to people, but one of my concerns, I'm an architect and I've been doing sustainable design work for 30 years. And one of my concerns is, or my philosophies about renewables, is that renewables are the badge your building wears after you've done everything else correctly, in terms of, comfort and indoor air quality and insulation envelopes and all those kinds of things. Because it does have an impact on the size of mechanical systems you buy and the size of the solar system you need to get to net zero. She said it was okay to mention tonight if anyone's interested in talking to an architect about looking at the projects in a holistic design manner, not just the solar pieces, but beyond that. I'd be glad to share my business card with you, and we can certainly do work that is not going to impact the schedules of the deadlines of all these projects. We can work very easily with those kinds of deadlines as well. So see me later if you're interested in that kind of help.
Yeah, and I just also want to mention that we booked a button-up workshop with Bob Walker on December 4th at
No, November 4th.
November 4th at the Howe Library. So you can learn about how to work in some of the efficiency measures into your house. Question, sir? Sure.
This question might display my ignorance of the technology. Ma'am, you said that you're 100% solar. So my question is around how you make that decision, and how much you should rely upon fossil fuel as backup. How do you decide that?
Okay, going 100%
How
solar.
long is the storage capacity when there's no sun? Obviously, you go through the night if you're 100% solar.
Okay, talking about sizing the system for backup versus what you need.
So without going into too many details, I'm very happy to talk about it in great detail, but sometimes you have to shut me up. But for this and I think it goes exactly back to what you said in architecture. If your envelope and everything else is established to help you get to a zero energy or a zero net energy building, then adding the solar is not a big deal. It's doable. It's not too expensive. It's not outside the realm. Most of our houses are not ready for that level. You have to reduce the heat load. So your question was maybe a little bit more on the storage side. For heating, it's a different question than for electric. So for solar electric, the storage that we've been talking about is we're storing our extra electricity in the grid. You could store it in batteries locally and then not have to worry about the grid at all, and you can be an off-grid house that way. When it gets to heating our houses, though, and doing it with the sun, you have to bring the heat load down as much as you possibly can with insulation and air infiltration and all this stuff. And then you can consider, in my case, a very large water storage, super insulated, that I heat all summer, that then holds that heat, and I use it in the winter to heat the house. It's not something most people can do, but it's fun to talk about.
Yes, sir, in the back with the jacket.
Thank you. Do you have access to the panels that have a border that matches the surface skin of the panel so that the array just looks seamless?
Okay, so that would be not seeing the individual panels, but just the whole array. It's just completely seamless.
Yeah, those are called black on black. The modules are all black, and you don't see any white for the most part. And yes, we can get them. They would be a little more money, but we can absolutely try to match that.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Can you install on a flat roof, which is a membrane?
Flat roof question. Great.
We have a few of those.
I want to say, yes, I can install on a flat roof, but it's not really up to me. Once it's gotten through permitting, then I'll be happy to install it. And from a permitting perspective, it's hard to know without either a good drawing and a bit of analysis, structural analysis, that it will hold the load and things like that. So for a flat roof and for roofs or roofs that we can't see the rafters, that's sort of number one. If we can't go up there and inspect that the rafters look good and they're 24 on center or 16 and they're 2x8s or whatever, then we do recommend, and to get through permitting, you will probably need to spend a little more money to have a PE, a professional engineer, or an architect come in and help you with that analysis. And we have resources for that, so we can provide that. I have one resource who said he's probably able to give you a really good idea within $400, $500.
So flat roof membrane, you do the same kind of installation, or you just lay a system on top of the flat roof?
That will be really dependent. We can do a ballasted system, but that's really where we're putting a lot of extra weight on the roof, so that's where you absolutely have to have the PE, a professional engineer, a structural engineer. We can also do a standard mount, but then we're penetrating the membrane, and so we want the roofer to make sure that the seal remains and it's watertight.
Okay, ma'am. Oh, wait, all the way in the back.
This system is only for
Speak up a little bit,
photovoltaic?
please.
Can't hear you.
Speak up.
Is this system only for photovoltaic or hot water too?
So we're talking PV today, photovoltaic. Okay, yes, in the middle. Yep.
Two-part question. First, the one-to-one correspondence for the kilowatts with Liberty Utilities, how long is that agreement for? And is it absolutely set in stone or how far in the future? Because obviously the payback calculations are obviously dependent on, and I've heard of some states, Wisconsin and everything, where that's changing now. And the second part is, can you talk a little bit more about the panels and why you picked those specific ones?
Okay, great questions. Net metering question and the choice of panels.
So right now, the state requires that net metering to happen in New Hampshire and many, many other states. If there are enough, I don't know, people who don't like solar or something that want to push the state legislature to change that rule, that's how it would be. I think that's how it would be changed. I don't really know. I don't hear any noise about that changing in any of the New England states. So I can't say it will be there forever. but hopefully it feels pretty solid right now. Second question, how do we choose the modules? The modules that we start with are US made. The ones, the base product module, like the black on black or something special might not be. We can get a couple other options, make a couple other options available, perhaps more watts per square foot if you're trying to maximize the power on your roof. That would be a little bit more, but we really are happy to be able to provide a US made module at a very competitive price. There are some cheaper ones, but not a lot at this point. US is compatible, so that's why we chose Solar World.
Okay, who's next? Yes, sir, Brown, sure.
Aside from, things like the additional cost of trenching for cables and stuff like that, how far, when is it becoming practical to distance a ground mount from your house? How far can you go before like electrical losses are prohibited?
Okay, distance from where the array is to the house.
Yeah, that is a good question because 300 feet is getting to be far. So I wouldn't really encourage any homeowner to go further than 300 feet from their house. And yes, the cables get quite big and copper gets very expensive.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Installing on a slate roof?
Slate roof, slate roof.
Okay, my house has a slate roof, so I did install solar PV on a slate roof. I would only do that with a slate roofer and my installer who has done it. It does cost more money because basically they can't step on that slate and they can't, there's a lot of things. Usually the slate roofer guy wants to first fix some slate and we want him to do that analysis before we put the solar on. So it absolutely can be done, I have proof of it, but it's more expensive. We got to think about a lot of things.
Okay, well, it's almost 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Do you want to, any more? Burning desires.
So one quick thing is that this home energy workshop says December 4th.
December. It is December. That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, so
That's Bob Walker's workshop at the house.
And the second thing that maybe we can talk about at a future meeting more in depth, but I think a lot of people in Hanover will have the issue of wanting to do it, but having so many trees, especially the pine trees. And I just, I did see the 10% discount in chippers, but that really is not a huge discount when you think about how, the cost of cutting down pine trees. And I just wonder if there's any talk among any groups of the town about doing a more, getting a better price if enough people sort of sign up for tree removal for the purpose of solar energy.
Yeah, it's kind of a same program. More people sign up, the better price.
And the town have we talked about this? I know at my very own home, I suspect I'm looking at some tree takedowns, and we heard from some of the Solarize Phase 1 communities that tree takedowns were necessitated. So once we get a sense of what we're looking at in terms of our site visits, we have talked about approaching 2 or 3 tree removal companies to see if we can get a bulk purchase discount on tree removal.
Great question. Last one here. Yep.
Household insurance and issues. What if a tree branch falls on your solar panel?
Insurance?
When I've asked insurance companies about this, they say the solar panels are just like any other energy system in your house that might break for some reason, or your roof or whatever else. But my official word to you is check with your insurance company, because I can't answer that for them, and it might be different from one to one.
So if more questions are fielded through Vital Communities, the Town of Hanover website, email us, go to the website, please keep firing the questions at us. Talk with each other, and thank you very much for coming.